I, female 32, lost my mom when I was 23. I got in therapy and was doing better, but I had issues with my dad's new wife and her daughter, who's 25, and just got married weeks ago. We do not have a close relationship, but we're cordial enough to sit at dinner tables. My stepsister treats me as a relative and was as much distant from me, but after my father got sick, we had to see each other a lot. I'm handling his care while stepmom works full-time, and stepsister doesn't do much, though she's always visiting when I moved in to help my dad. Before that, I was living with my ex, so returning home was just in time. I brought with me all of my mom's belongings, and my stepsister showed interest in my mom's necklace and asked if she could borrow it to wear it at her wedding. I refused, and she tried every method to convince me. I had to put it in a place where I thought it'd be safe after my stepmother got involved. As the wedding approached, they both kept convincing me to let my stepsister have it. She bragged about affording a better one, but it was a matter of showing who's in control. I stood my ground and told them how serious I was, so they backed off. I didn't attend the wedding to stay with my dad. I remember wanting to change where I was hiding the necklace while the house was empty, but I found it was gone. After searching for hours, I called my stepmom and she said not to worry. My stepsister took it and will return it when the wedding is over. But it was clear that I won't see it until after the honeymoon, since she said her daughter was staying at a hotel. I screamed at her to return it, but she argued about not wanting to leave the guest, and the wedding had already started. I told her I'd get it myself, but she forbid me from coming, saying she'd have to keep me out wanting to make a scene. I called the police and explained to them what was happening. I informed them my stepsister intended to leave for her honeymoon with my property. The police were sent to where the wedding was being held, and they were able to retrieve the necklace from my stepsister. She and my stepmom were in shock and livid. She, stepmom, returned home and kept shouting at me, calling me petty and crazy to send the police to my stepsister's wedding, ruining it and humiliating them over a piece of jewelry. She was screaming at my sick dad, telling him to handle me after the stunt that I pulled at the wedding. I defended myself, saying I only wanted an item that belonged to me, that they took without permission, returned. She argued further that I could have waited to get it back, but I chose to burn the bridge with my stepsister and said that she considers me dead after this. She said stuff I can't mention here, but all I can say is it was a bad night. I might have overreacted by getting the police involved, but I had no guarantee of getting the necklace back, since I have experience with them in the past. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Don't want the police at your wedding? Don't steal your stepsister's necklace and then brag about it. Seems easy enough to me. OP, your stepfamily is a pit of idiots. May I suggest a safety deposit box at a bank for your precious items? Something old, something new, something stolen, boys in blue. If you don't want the police to turn up and make a scene at your wedding or any other time, don't steal someone's stuff. The entitlement of the stepsister is off the scale. Anyone who spends that much time and energy manipulating you, finding out the answer is still no, and then going against your wishes anyway, isn't worth it. Be dead to her. Someone so manipulative and downright horrid should be dead to you. I would have demanded to press charges. Not only did she argue and try to manipulate OP and still receive no for an answer, but the stepsister went out of her way to search for the obviously hidden necklace. It wasn't as if it was just out in the open to tempt her. She just had to have it. Yeah, if you feel that entitled to someone else's property, most likely you're not about to hand it back over when done borrowing it. Jumping in to add, since your father is ill, please be aware that if he dies intestate without a will, then your stepmom will inherit everything, and then it will all pass to your stepsister. You will be left with nothing. Please speak to your father to make sure he's aware of his end-of-life choices. Whatever he does with his estate is his choice, and I don't advocate trying to pressure him, but he may think your stepmom will share with you and stepsis when the time comes, and I don't think that's a realistic expectation. My ex-husband Dan and I have a 10-year-old daughter, Emily. We divorced 8 years ago after Dan came out as gay, and he effectively left me for one of his friends from work, Jim. They didn't have an affair, but there were feelings there before we separated. They now live together. I remarried 4 years ago to my husband, Nick, so Dan and I share custody of Emily pretty much 50-50. One source of tension has been Emily's relationship with Jim. Dan, Nick, and I come from very conservative Christian backgrounds, whereas Jim is from a left-wing Jewish Italian family. Emily has always been something of a free spirit, and she and Jim get on like a house on fire. She and Nick have a good relationship, but Nick is more of a typical stepfather. She respects Nick, but she's obsessed with Jim. She always wants to be doing what he's doing. She's developed a bad habit of walking around the house without shoes or socks, because he does. She only eats her eggs hard-boiled, because that's how he eats them. And she always talks about how funny he is. I had to put my foot down last year when she started calling Dan and Jim her dads, but didn't call Nick her dad. Last month it all came to a head when she came home from a week at theirs and proudly showed us some of the Italian that Jim has been teaching her. It turns out that she had asked him to teach her Yiddish and Italian. I asked her why, and she said not only was it fun to have secret conversations with Jim, she was the only child who could carry it on. This annoyed me because she isn't Jim's child, and she doesn't have an ancestral language to carry on. Our family only speaks English and always has. I also felt like this made her relationship with Nick more unequal, as he doesn't have another language to teach her and bond with her. I immediately phoned Dan and expressed that I felt Jim was stepping over the line and getting too involved. Dan got uncharacteristically angry at me. He said that if I have a problem with Emily being closer to Jim than Nick, it was up to Nick to build up his relationship with Emily, not up to Jim to tear theirs down. I said that Nick couldn't do that, as he didn't get to be just the fun parent like Jim does, because Nick has to be the only father figure in our household. In contrast, Jim can just be Emily's friend. Dan told me that I was being ridiculous and accused me of being homophobic, which is ludicrous. He must have said something about it to Emily, as she stopped talking about Jim in our house, which I'm glad about, but she's been very frosty with us. Nick has tried to get her involved in things that they can do together, but she's not showing any interest. I feel like I did have to say something, but I'm worried I went over Nick's head and made things worse and should have left him to handle it. I want Jim to stop overstepping. You are the idiot. Cut the crap about overstepping his bounds. This is your real issue. Dan, Nick, and I all come from very conservative Christian backgrounds. Jim is showing an interest in your daughter. She seems to enjoy him and love spending time with him. In other words, your daughter is happy and has another adult in her life who cares about her. If you cared about your daughter, you would be happy for her. You may call yourself a Christian, but there is nothing Christ-like about your behavior. Also, the "we only speak English" nonsense is stupid and just ignorant. Guess what, OP? Your family probably didn't always speak English, and your kid learning languages will help her in the real world. You are the idiot, for God's sake. Get your head out of your butt. You are the idiot. I don't understand why walking around the house without shoes or socks is a bad habit. She always talks about how funny he is. Oh, the horror. Great that she feels comfortable calling Jim and Dan dad. Not sure how this would be a bad thing or Jim's fault. You say she respects Nick, but if she's not seeing him as a father, then that's on him to sort out and change the dynamic. It's not reasonable to expect everyone to step back and do less. Stop being jealous. She likes Daddy's partner more than Mommy's. I am stuck in a different state than my family and friends, so my boyfriend and his parents were going to throw me a small party on my birthday. Just me, my boyfriend, and his little siblings and his parents. A super low-key dinner. I'm vegetarian. I have been for 13 years. It's nothing new or anything that people don't know. So I went to their house and saw them cooking pasta with bacon pieces and cooking up veggies in the bacon grease pan. I realized there was nothing I could have except beer, and I was hungry. I reminded them that I don't eat meat, and they were like, "You can pick the bacon bits out. They're just sprinkled on the top, and give them to boyfriend. He'll eat anything. And we made vegetables that you can eat too." I didn't want to pick the meat out of the pasta or eat vegetables cooked in bacon fat, so I said I wasn't sure. I don't like meat flavor at all. I might have something else. They said there was hardly any bacon grease in the pan. While they'd used it for bacon, they just didn't wash in between, but I wouldn't even taste it. Then I ordered a pizza to their house, and when it arrived, his parents were mad and upset that I had. So I said that I mentioned I wasn't into eating meat and that I might get my own food. My boyfriend and I left early and went out ice skating, so the day turned out fine, LOL. Am I the idiot for ordering pizza? Not the idiot. If this party was supposed to be for you, I don't know why asking you what you wanted wasn't the first order of business. But even if they couldn't be bothered to do that, who makes the guest of honor a dish that's focused on the flavor of an ingredient they can't eat? Some people are way too selfish to put the birthday person before themselves. For example, my husband and I always take ice cream or cake over whenever his parents want to celebrate my birthday, because my mother-in-law always makes peanut butter cake, which I despise. And no matter how many times my husband has told her that I don't like it, she always has peanut butter cakes because it's her and my father-in-law's favorite, and they consider themselves far more important. OP, not the idiot. Just keep in mind that these people won't get any better. I'm almost 14 years in and can promise that selfishness doesn't improve. All of this pick the bacon out, etc. comes from ignorance. I've been veggie for 11 years. I worked as a chef for a lot of them. While cooking off a tray of bacon, the smell was still amazing, so I thought I'd try a piece to see if my taste had changed. I used to love bacon, but after years of not eating meat, it was utterly disgusting. So salty and fatty. It made me stop missing bacon, so a load of veg cooked in bacon grease will taste foul. I can tell you that there's a good chance that bacon grease would have done a number on your stomach. On your birthday, a day totally about you, they couldn't at least take the care to make sure you could eat something before planning the meal? I'm not saying they're intentionally rude, but I would talk to your boyfriend about future holiday meals. And don't apologize for the pizza. They should have paid for it for you, since it was your birthday after all. I think it's amazing that you even stayed to eat anything with them. I, 36 male, and my wife, 35, have 3 children together. Our middle son is on the spectrum. He's a sweet boy, but he definitely has his troubles, as all kids do. He gets agitated without a routine, likes things a certain way, refuses to be touched by anybody besides my wife and me, and has his own way of doing things. But he's the sweetest, kindest kid, and he never creates trouble if he can help it. My sister-in-law routinely comes over to see the kids, but rarely gives our middle son the special attention that she gives to our other 2. Instead, she snaps at him and doesn't try to help him when he gets stressed out. I've tried to talk to her, and my wife has too, but she always says there's no problem. And now there's a problem. She called me and told me that she doesn't want to come over anymore because she doesn't want to be forced to coddle our son. I asked what that meant, since he receives no favoritism from my wife or me, and all we've ever tried to do is give him a normal life while making sure he doesn't have any freakouts or gets upset. My sister-in-law told me that she can't handle an autistic child and his quirks, and that she can't handle tiptoeing around him because he's so easy to upset. And I got angry at that point. I told her that if she couldn't handle him, then there's no reason she should be handling the other 2 kids. She told me that I was overreacting and being way too protective over him. I told her that I hoped that when she had children, that they didn't have any health issues, and I hung up at that point because I didn't want to permanently damage our relationship and cause trouble. But I already had, because now my wife's angry with me and saying that no matter what her sister said about our son, that I shouldn't have said what I did. Is she right? I guess that I went overboard, but I also think that she's biased because that's her sister. No idiots here. Your sister-in-law has told you that she feels unable to deal with your son. Many people have difficulty coping with atypical individuals. Everyone has limits, and this is hers. You have the right to be upset and sad about it, but it sounds like you want to punish her for her honest feelings. I would generally agree with this. However, OP stated that she's generally snippy and unattentive around the autistic child, but not the neurotypical children. It doesn't sound like she puts any effort into getting to know the kid or his triggers and outlets. Even neurotypical children have these, so it shouldn't be new to her. OP shouldn't encourage her to play with him, not because she's uncomfortable, but because she's not a good aunt. Everyone's the idiot here. You started with all you do to try to give him a normal life while making sure he doesn't have any freakouts or gets upset, which almost guarantees you do let him do whatever he wants. Also going to assume you don't go to those same measures for your other children. I will say she is an idiot for snapping at him and favoring the others, but she is allowed to feel like she does. You are an idiot for feeling like everyone should bend over backward for your son and probably showing favoritism to him. You are the idiot. She was honest about her feelings. However, the way you talk makes it seem like you let your son do whatever he wants to prevent meltdowns. Do your other children get as much attention? Are they always walking on eggshells around him, scared to upset him? Be happy she's close to your other children and giving them the attention you're not. Remember that they will resent you for always putting your son first. He will have to learn he can't always get his way. I wouldn't be surprised if you expect your kids to take care of them when they're older too, and you're gone. You're not giving him a normal life. You are coddling him, as she says. I've had a cat for 5 years. He's the first thing I got when I moved away from home. The cat went everywhere with me. He tried on the first baby clothes I bought my unborn child, and only trusts or comes to me. When I moved into an apartment 1 year ago, I had to leave him at a friend's farm as the apartment didn't allow pets. I tried to bring him, but know the landlord personally, and it didn't work. I feel guilty for leaving him out there and worry about him being run over or dying in some horrid way. It makes me sick. He's my little buddy. While I lived in the apartment, I started seeing my boyfriend, who was allergic to cats, but has always had a pet cat his whole life. And boyfriend loves cats. It was always in my head that once I got out of the apartment, I would get to have my cat back. Now boyfriend and I have been together for a year and have bought a house. We argue over the cat coming home. Boyfriend says he will leave, and he likes living free of sniffles and irritants. I want my pet back as it's very important to me. I understand why he doesn't want it. After this cat dies, I would never expect him to have another cat in the house. But I get very emotional thinking I might never see my little buddy again, that I just left him there. I also get emotional thinking my boyfriend would leave me if I brought my pet home. I'm tempted to just bring the cat home and hope for forgiveness. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You keep making poor decisions. Moving into an apartment that doesn't allow pets. Not communicating with your boyfriend before signing the mortgage papers. Now you expect him to take medicine for the 10+ years the cat has left? That's not respecting his bodily autonomy. It's just a step down from him making you take birth control pills because he doesn't like another type of protection. Do not bring the cat home without his okay. Have you ever seen the cat since you left it at the farm? Maybe it loves it. Now the cat has a new life and quite probably enjoying the farm more than it would a house. At the very least, you will probably have to deal with fleas and parasites, unless the caretakers have been giving it preventative meds. Everyone's the idiot here. However, threatening to break a relationship off over a cat is a small red flag, even if he's allergic to it. Forcing your cat on him is wrong, but threatening to leave you after you two bought a house over a stupid cat is deplorable. You could try compromising with him, as in having a room or two in the house that the cat stays in, changing, brushing off your clothes whenever you come out of that room. That way you get to keep your kitty, and he gets a mostly allergy-free house. I don't like your idea of asking for forgiveness, since he's already warned you that he would prefer to leave in that case. By bringing the cat into the house, you're playing with fire that he won't follow through with his conditions. I think this may be one of those moments where you have to choose between your boyfriend or your cat. It sucks, but I don't see a middle ground that's fair to either your cat, your boyfriend, or you. You would be an idiot if you brought the cat anyway, in the hopes that he'll just fall in love with it.